What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the journal. This is episode 7 of me coming on here every single Monday to YouTube to check in with you guys about life and business as I grow my artist brand in public as a music producer and a DJ. And this week we are back in amazing, sunny Southern California. Really glad to be home. And we're going to switch it up a little bit this week. We're going to do something a little bit differently. I'm going to take you guys along with me through my afternoon on this episode. And we're just going to film as we go through my day a little bit. So I got to go in the house, do some work in the studio. Then we're going to go to the gym. And we'll just do this episode on the go today. So excited for this one. And let's get into it. All right, so honest update. How am I feeling? I'm feeling really good. I'm really happy to be home. It's been 5 weeks of just very little routine, been frenetic. I was in Amsterdam for a week and a half. Then I was here for like 3-4 days. And I was in Seattle for 2.5 weeks. As you guys know, I was filming that set in Seattle on that bridge. And let me tell you guys, I'll put it on the screen here. I'm beginning to edit it. I started editing it yesterday. Oh my God, it's fucking sick. You guys are gonna, I'm so stoked to drop this. You guys are gonna love it. So I dropped 4 IDs in the mix as well as some of my favorite stuff from me and from others this year. And yeah, it was such a fun project. I'm also working on a vlog that takes you guys behind the scenes of how exactly we made this shoot happen with all the moving pieces, what we did, what the gear is, how we did it. And so excited to get all of that out over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm feeling good and I'm happy to be home back in my routine. So let's go and hit the gym and we're going to cover the big idea this week and the Q&A on the go.
Yeah, move your body inside the party. You want to bring it.
All right, so we're here by the gym, and I figured this would be a cool place to do the big idea this week. And what I want to talk about is having resilience when things don't go to plan. And I've been thinking about this week because when we were in Seattle and we did the set on the bridge, so many things went wrong with that. We couldn't get the gear we needed. We got to the bridge. It was different weather than we planned on. It was way darker than we thought. We couldn't set the cameras up where we wanted to. All of those were challenges that we had to overcome. And those type of things are going to happen and have happened every single time I've worked on a project. All of the content that I've made, all the DJ sets, all those drone shoots that I've done, all of the stuff that I do, something goes wrong. Something doesn't go to plan. There's a hurdle or an obstacle that comes up, and it used to throw me off. It used to completely tank my motivation. It used to get me really frustrated. And then my output, my performance, my ability to continue through the project would dwindle. And there's projects I had in the past where when things started going wrong, it would mess with my mental state so much that I ended up not completing the project because I got so discouraged by the initial few obstacles that I just threw up my hands and said, screw this, I don't want to do this. And the biggest skill I've learned is planning and knowing that every single time I embark on a project, there are going to be obstacles. There are going to be hurdles, and knowing when that time comes, which it's coming, you can't let that throw your entire mental state off, tank the project, get you discouraged. Instead, you have to say, hey, I knew this was going to happen. What is left? What can I scrounge together? How can I salvage this in the best possible way and still put out the output that I need, still put out the project, still put out the song, still put out the piece of content, still put out the video, even though it might not be exactly what I wanted, exactly what I had in my head, it can still be good. As another example, now that I'm back home and I'm editing the DJ set on the bridge, 2 of our camera angles, they are completely unusable and we had no clue. They're totally underexposed. They're not usable. They're grainy. They look like shit. And you know, that's discouraging, but I have been through this so many times that I've had to armor my mind and say, you know what can I do with the remaining camera angles that I have? And how can I change my strategy to still get this out? And so when you have an idea of what you wanted the song to be, or what you wanted the video to be, or what you wanted the project to be, and then something comes up and it screws that over and it doesn't go to plan, don't let that become an excuse to throw you off or to quit or to discourage you and make your output worse. Just accept what's going on. Take stock of what you can still do to get the highest level of quality out of whatever you're doing and continue to execute, because this is not a problem that only happens to people who are new or only happens to the inexperienced or the beginners. This happens to everybody at every level. The obstacles never stop. The plans never fully go as expected. And so we have to learn the skill of saying, I know this is going to happen every time, and I'm going to adjust accordingly as quickly as possible and not let this slow me down.
Yeah.
All right, amazing workout. That was great. Hit shoulders and arms, and I am ready to finish this video up with the Q&A, and I love the Q&A this week. This is an amazing question from my boy Xander. Let's get into it. So he's asking, essentially, should we be prioritizing local shows versus trying to produce or non-local shows? And I'll put the question up on the screen here. You guys can pause it and read the question. He phrased it really, really well. It's an amazing question. But my answer really is I'm very anti-local show. The only time that it makes sense is at the very beginning when you haven't played very many shows at all. You just want to get out on the decks. You just need to scratch that itch. You just need to break that seal of getting behind a pair of decks and playing music out to some people. But once you've gotten that experience, once you've scratched that itch and you've kind of, you know what that's like, you've got to stop doing it. It reminds me, honestly, what it's like is like that study they did of kids where they say, if you eat the marshmallow now, you're just going to have the marshmallow. But if you wait and you don't eat the marshmallow for 15 minutes, we're going to give you 2 marshmallows. And in that study, the kids who waited and got 2 marshmallows tend to succeed more in life. It's the same thing here. Playing a local show has so many negatives to it, and there's not that many positives other than the quick dopamine hit of just stepping on stage and playing to some people. But it's not helping you build your career. And I personally feel not only is it not helping you build, I think it's an active detraction. I think it's an actively somewhat destructive thing to do. I always say that if I were investing in the success of a producer, I would invest in the guy or the person who is saying no to as many local shows as possible and instead producing. Because there's so many perceptions that get formed when you start playing too many local shows. For one thing, talent buyers and venue owners and agents and all of the people who are looking at artists that are bubbling up and potentially booking them or investing in them or trying to bring them onto teams and stuff like that, all of them are going to get that perception that this guy, this person is just a local regional DJ. He's just playing in his local market. He's playing a lot of opening slots. He's playing a lot of support slots. He's not headlining. He's not playing festivals. That's a bad perception to build, and it's very, very hard to break. Once you've accepted playing, a support slot for $500 or $1,000, that promoter is going to have a really hard time a year later, 2 years later, paying you $10,000 when he knows that just a year or two ago you were accepting $500 in a drink ticket, or worse yet, no money in a drink ticket. Never do that. So it's a perception that's hard to break. The fans begin to build that perception around you. It's just something that you want to avoid at all costs. And instead, you've got to focus on the productions. You raise an interesting point in the question, though, which is, well, it provides this opportunity to network with DJs that are coming through our city. It's opened up some doors as far as, establishing some relationships. But man, I'm going to tell you this. If you made a hit this year, if you had a track that everybody was playing, if you had a track that those same DJs wanted to play in their sets, you wouldn't need the opportunity to shake their hand when you open for them at the local club. At the end of the day, the biggest asset that we have is our brand and our music. And when it comes to navigating the industry, when it comes to establishing a foothold in the spaces and the verticals that we want to establish to build our career, it all comes down to the music and the productions that you're putting out. And what you have to keep prioritizing. Keep the main thing, which is making music that other DJs that are at the top of your genre can play. That is the number one absolute priority for all of us who are trying to build here. And once your music starts getting played by John Summit and Dom Dalla and Maddox and any of these guys at the top of the game right now, that is going to open up so many more doors for you than 100 local gigs. And so, hopefully I've made a case. I could riff on this for 10 more minutes, but I think that once you've scratched the itch and you've gotten over that ego boost hump of what it's like to play to some people, say no as often as possible. Me personally, I'm at a point now where I only say yes to 2 gigs in SoCal per year. 2 club gigs in SoCal per year. If it's a festival, I'll play it. But as far as clubs go, only 2 per year. I am desperately trying to avoid that perception of local DJ. And I would rather not play the gig and sit here and work on my music, not have to stay out late, not have to be hungover or tired the next day, stay on my grind, keep the main thing. And I don't need that night out. I need to keep grinding on what I know is the longest lever that I can, which is working on music. That is what's going to happen. So that's where I'm at with it. That's my answer. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, I could say so much more, but I think I've made the point. So, all right. So what's coming up this week? Well, this week I'm mostly going to be in this room video editing this crazy set that we did in Seattle. I can't wait to get this out. And I've got a couple crazy weeks coming up. So this week I'm working on the set, doing some one-on-ones. And then on next Monday, I'm flying to Philadelphia to speak at UPenn, which is going to be awesome because I went to law school there. So, it's going to be cool to be able to say, hey, I used to go to law school here. And now, I just played EDC 6 months ago. So I'm speaking to the electronic music group there. And then that following weekend, so next weekend, I'm playing Dream State. So a couple cool weeks coming up. Excited to take you guys along for it. And also keep an eye out for my Amsterdam ADE vlog, which I should be posting sometime this week. So keep an eye out for that. And I will see you guys next Monday.